Hello, and thank you for watching the Keyword Battle Association Season 1. I'm Brandon Harnish, an analyst here at CBA, and joined with me is the one and only coach of the Portland Trail Blazekins, Kit Clement. How are you doing, Kit?
Peachy, how are you?
I'm fuzzy like a peach. This is a new segment we like to call Coach Commentary, where coaches of the top CBA teams get to sit in the hot seat, watch a game that they didn't play in from the last week, and share their thoughts about the match with one of our CBA analysts. If you haven't noticed, the Keyword Battle Association actually has analysts that are meant to, analyze matches and stuff. One of whom we've already met. There's four of us. So there's me, there's Phil Yu, a noted one-handed solver, and also the owner of thecubicle.us. Phil's actually already published some match analysis on our WordPress blog, which is available at keywordbattle.wordpress.com. Is that right, Kit?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank God. Next is Alexander Much, whose insight we appreciate very much, and Statue Cork, who hasn't really kept up with Pokemon since 1997. So those are our four analysts, our chief analysts, and now Kit, you've already had your match for week 1. How did that go?
It could have gone better.
Yeah, I assume that you didn't come out of this one victorious?
No, I didn't. It's alright, though. It's definitely a learning experience for me. I think that there's like this level of expectation that because I created this that I have to be good at competitive battling, but I have like very little experience, and it showed. You can actually read Phil's analysis written up about my match on WordPress as he picks out several mistakes I made during the match. And it's good, though. It's definitely a learning process.
Yeah, what were some considerations you had to make this week when picking your team out?
So, against Joey, one thing I noticed is that he had a lot of Mons that were weak to ground, fighting, and bug. So I actually had 2 Mons that were devoted to just doing that. And one of them was Mew, which was a fun surprise that he was running Earthquake and Superpower. But that's kind of the fun of running Mew, is that you really get a lot of creativity, and you can scare a lot of things just because of the fact that in this format, it really can run anything and everything that can screw the opponent up.
Yeah, what do you think of the balance of the league, having all these tiers integrated with each other?
It's cool because, and a lot of the coaches, when I proposed this initially, they were very skeptic of using like RU and UU Mons, but I really do think that when you really limit the pool of Mons for both sides, it really does make a huge difference in the usability. And from week to week, like I'm noticing with like week 2 preparations now that Mons that were really great the last week are not so useful this week. So, and I'm actually looking to bring one of my NUs next week.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
We'll have to look forward to that. Thank you, Kit. Now on to today's match. FC Barboach, led by James Hildreth, against the Denver Staryus, led by Chris Braiedy. So this week, FC Barboach's lineup includes a Black Sludge Drapion with the usual toxic spikes to do some real damage, Zapdos with Leftovers, packing a punch with Heat Wave, Excadrill, Mega Absol, Chandelure, and Lapras. And the Denver Staryus' party today includes Mega Lopunny, Whimsicott, Muck, Assault Vest Flygon, Primeape, and Rotom-Heat. And without further ado, let's watch the replay. Alright, so the replay is starting. And we see the teams all lined up here beautifully. And Lapras is the first to come out. I wonder why Lapras is the first to come out.
That was an interesting lead. I wasn't too sure about that one.
Yeah, so alright, Chris Braiedy sends out Rotom-Heat, and Rotom-Heat uses Volt Switch, which does a considerable amount of damage, and Rotom-Heat gets switched out for... Let's find out Lopunny. Lopunny of all Pokemon comes out next, and this is an interesting... Yeah, this is interesting. Using Hydro Pump was definitely the right move to make at that time, but not knowing about... not being able to be sure about a Volt Switch, having the amount of damage that was dealt be what it was is still significant. But then Lopunny comes back and Thunder Punches Lapras down to... Well, I was going to say death, but just fainting. Fainting is the right word for that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I'm kind of questioning at that point why Lopunny didn't do a Drain Punch, because it also would have been super effective damage.
Certainly.
Yeah, and could have restored some health. Maybe Chris forgot that Lapras also was Ice type. I'm not sure. So
Yeah, and so now Drapion comes out. Rotom-Heat also comes back into the fray, and with a quick Brick Break, which doesn't do all too much. Of course, you couldn't really plan for a switch like that. Will-O-Wisp then burns Drapion. But what Drapion does here next is exactly what you would expect. Toxic Spikes coming right out in order to get Chris Brady's team, the Denver Staryus, into some bit of a pickle. However, it's good to note that the Denver Staryus also have Muck, which when sent out will get rid of the Toxic Spikes immediately. So I'm not sure why Muck didn't come out at this point or sooner in the battle than Muck does in the actually far future. Lopunny comes back out and is poisoned only at 37% health. And with Drapion having Black Sludge, all of Lopunny's attempts that you're about to see, all Lopunny's attempts to try, let's see, Drain Punch, it doesn't do crazy much. With Toxic Spikes and being poisoned, with Drapion having a Black Sludge there, it's not going to die anytime soon.
yeah, and it's interesting here that James is really trying to play the Whirlwind game with hazards. It looks like he was trying to set up to poison a ton of Mons, but this is the only one he ends up actually getting with the spikes before Muck comes in.
Yeah, and Chandelure is the next to come out, which makes little sense considering that Lopunny can, even though normal in fighting, can still hit the Ghost-type Pokemon because of its nature. So I'm not sure if that was just a miscalculation on FC Barboach's part, or...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure James just didn't know about Scrappy.
Yeah, but even so, Lopunny is now finished, and Chandelure lives to see another turn. And what comes out next but Muck. Muck comes out, getting rid of the Toxic Spikes, as we were saying earlier. Oh, look at that. Chandelure is sent back, and out comes Excadrill, breaking the mold, not letting any of the status changes affected. What do you think of Mold Breaker as the chosen ability for Excadrill in this case?
So I'm not actually... I can't remember what abilities Excadrill can actually run. I think I've looked at them, and Mold Breaker's definitely one of the better ones. Just especially because it's ground type, it will help ignore Levitate. So that's pretty useful for Excadrill.
Yeah, and Rotom-Heat down with one final hit. Alright, Earthquake solid move, of course, and Flygon comes out, but Levitate, as you were saying, doesn't help Flygon. And it's good to note that this is an Assault Vest Flygon, so it's packing a little bit more there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I love the Assault Vest item. I was building a team. I told you about this. It was an Assault Vest Blissey. Just for fun. I was just lying around. Alright, an Absol comes out, but I'm confused why Dragon Tail was used in this case, because it doesn't really do much to help the Staryus's case. It does a decent amount of damage, but nothing to 2 HKO.
Yeah, it would be more interesting if he got some Stealth Rocks up and was also getting that residual damage on top of the Dragon Tail damage. That's something I really enjoy doing, is combining Dragon Tail with Rocks, but nothing you can do here with just plain switching other than just kind of causing confusion, I suppose.
Yeah, and now the Flygon being Toxic Poison takes a minor hit. But Chandelure using Shadow Ball, taking out... What is that, like... I missed the number. 40.
It looks like about 30%. Yeah.
And Flygon using Dragon Tail again on Chandelure, which is now down for the count. And it looks like we still have 4 Mons on either side to go. And what comes out next?
Yeah, and I think the big turning point here that comes up soon is Chris Brady's use of Primeape. Actually, that I don't think comes for a while. But Primeape is kind of the last thing that does handle the rest of the Mons on James's side. The only one it doesn't really do too much against is Drapion. Typically, I think it carries Rock Slide to handle Zapdos, and then Fighting is going to take care of Absol and Excadrill. And I think the use of Chris's Primeape is really what makes the turning point later. For now, we just have a bunch of stalling that happens with Whimsicott here.
And what is this Whimsicott? Because it's too new of a Pokemon for me to know. Gen 6, I would assume?
Yeah, it's the new fairy type. So we got Grass Fairy here. Ends up doing a lot of fun stuff with Leech Seeding here, as you can see.
Zapdos comes out, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
So Zapdos comes out. Leech Seed doesn't really do much. Oh, wow. Heat Wave packing a serious punch on Whimsicott. But after a Citrus Berry, there's not much to be said there. Also with Leech Seed, it seemed at this point that Whimsicott couldn't really pack that big of a punch against Zapdos or any other mon for that matter. So it's just trying to cover its ass, for lack of a better term, in order to kind of delay the inevitable. Zapdos' attacks are simply too strong. It's too strong to not think about. I'm confused why Whimsicott stayed out as long as it did, and now putting in a substitute, it's just so gimmicky.
Well, it's just trying to get the most out of this Leech Seed right now, because Leech Seed does restore 18%, so and that does sap some from Zapdos. So I think Chris really here is just trying to play kind of a bit of a stall game, because he's not losing too much on these subs, considering he gets it all back on the Leech Seed. But again, he's not making plays here.
Yeah, Zapdos with another Heat Wave that fades out the substitute instantly. It really seems like there's no point to each of these turns that are here right in the middle. But very soon, as you're mentioning, another mon is about to come out. And who is it but Primeape, as you were saying. Primeape packs a serious punch on everyone except for Drapion. And let's see what Primeape was first. Well, that does his Heat Wave. Critical hits, too. Takes out, almost able to 2H KO Primeape, but still with a critical hit. So nothing to be really crazy about. The Leech Seed still giving Primeape another 15% every single turn. And with a Brick Break, Zapdos is now into the yellow.
Yeah, and this was an interesting kind of, I think, a bit of an over-prediction on Chris's part. I assume Primeape was packing the Rock-type move.
The Rock Slide, as you were saying.
Or Stone Edge. Stone Edge. Yeah. And it just seemed like because all the other mons, especially Excadrill and Absol, have the are weak to fighting, that maybe he was expecting him to switch out because bringing in Primeape, maybe he was trying to force a switch, but it seemed like that plan didn't quite work. Yeah,
I know Excadrill's out after just one Earthquake, which was a great move on the Staryus' part, but Primeape's only left with 5%. It's going to be gone very soon.
Even just Life Orb damage is going to get it, but
definitely.
So
and Life Orb gets knocked off. It doesn't even matter. Primeape's done. And next to come out is Whimsicott yet again, which you'll see here in about 5 seconds. This is going really slow. I love the buttons. It's fast, normal, slow, and really slow.
That's right.
That always gets me. I don't know what
Yeah, and that was not a good matchup for James there, getting the Absol and the Whimsicott Fairy being able to be strong against the Dark. So
definitely. So Zapdos comes back out, and we have yet another bit of this Whimsicott Zapdos back and forth that we saw earlier. With Dazzling Gleam, a new move that we see from Whimsicott that we didn't see before. Now, still with no Leech Seed on Zapdos anymore, it's Whimsicott's only defense is to try protecting itself over and over and over again, to really no avail, as you're going to see in a second. And Zapdos uses Roost, reclaims a whole bunch of that HP, so all that work was basically for nothing.
Yep, and that was a very bad turn there. Chris definitely should have gotten a Leech Seed off that turn, but protected for no benefit there, really.
Yeah, and then with Heat Wave, as I was saying before, Zapdos' attacks are just far too strong for the Staryus to keep up with, or just for Whimsicott. It was delaying the inevitable yet again.
Yeah, and at this point, I bet Chris was definitely wishing he didn't probably that. Assuming he overpredicted, I'm assuming he probably wishes he didn't overpredict earlier with that Primeape could have Stone Edge there.
Yeah, definitely. And Zapdos uses Volt Switch to get 18% off Muck and to switch out with
Good old Absol.
Good old Absol. Which is still holding Absolite, by the way. It hasn't Mega Evolved yet. And Muck gets a Sludge Bomb, almost gets Absol out of the fray. Alright, but what really gets me here is in a couple moves, there's something that's done so weirdly. Muck is about to use Protect, of all things. And so Absol is brought down to 7%, and Muck can pretty easily KO it now. But yet, Muck can
it's not too weird. It's probably just scouting out for the priority move, just in case, because Absol does sometimes carry Shadow Sneak, but a Shadow Sneak from Muck's will definitely take it too. So apparently, though, he definitely sees there with the Protect that Absol wasn't using the priority move, so Muck just goes ahead and takes care of it.
Yeah, and with Absol down for the count, when next comes out, well, you still have 2 and 2, but Zapdos has full health, and Muck and Flygon don't have nearly enough to keep this going much longer. So Zapdos does indeed come out, uses Heat Wave, packs a Slight Punch on Muck, and what does Muck do but Stockpile? Yes, Muck uses Stockpile for the first time, 1.5 timesing its defense and special defense, and why try building Muck so late in the game? It
is a bit late.
Yeah, it makes much less sense to do that now than to try maybe doing that earlier when Muck was first brought out. But Zapdos uses Volt Switch. Also not entirely sure why, but Muck's almost out as it is. But
well, again, I think he was probably afraid of a Spit Up or some sort of Stockpile move. I mean, not that that's that great of a move, but Drapion here is really coming out to get the Whirlwind to prevent this setting up from being any bit useful.
Yeah, and then Muck stockpiles yet again, trying to defend itself. It seems almost like a desperate move. And here Muck uses Protect again. I think it's pretty clear here that with 9% on Muck and well into the yellow on Flygon, at least. Yeah, 46%. Well, not well into the yellow, but basically, especially with toxic poisoning. Flygon's going to be out very soon. And then Muck. Alright. Hurt by Burn. Drapion uses Knockoff, gets rid of Flygon's Assault Vest that we were talking about earlier. But, Flygon using Dragon Tail and brings Drapion down to 1%. But still, even if Flygon could have taken out Drapion at that point, Zapdos is still here with 100% health.
Yeah, the use of Dragon Tail, though, is it kind of hurt Chris on the differential side, because as we know, the tiebreakers in this league are come down to differential, and had he used a different damaging move there, he probably would have been able to at least have the burn take it out. But so this pretty much turned what could have been a 1-0 into a 2-0.
Yeah, and then with Flygon down for the count, Muck is absolutely no match for this last Volt Switch. Muck is gone, and of course, FC Barboach wins with 2-0.
Yeah, so a very slight 2 with that 1% Drapion.
Yeah, 1% Drapion. Yeah, so that goal differential that you're talking about, how does that exactly factor in with all the so that when you get to a tiebreaker, it's like say that you have a tie, how do you break the tie? What comes first?
Well, yeah, so on the WordPress, you can check out the full list of tiebreakers, but the first tiebreaker comes down to differential. So this battle here, James picks up a 2-0 win, so he gets a +2 added to his differential. If he wins by a 3-0 next week, his differential for the season will go up to 5. If he loses a 2-0, it'll be back to 0. So so this is meant to be the tiebreaker. So winning very convincingly is better than barely winning. Of course, winning is what's, of course, more important than how you win, but when determining tiebreakers, we do look at first how well the teams have won their matches.
And it's good too, like trying to maximize your differential there. I don't think anything much different could have been done with Drapion at 1%. Like that's too close to tell, and it really was on Barboach's side. It really was. It came down to luck in a sense. Of course, you can calculate all these things, but nobody could have predicted that 1% could have possibly been left. And with a 2-win by FC Barboach, they move on to next week, as do everybody else, because it's only week 1. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Anything else you have to say, Kit, to wrap up this match?
Nothing too much. I think that maybe, in terms of the differential again, if Dragon Tail wasn't used, because that did force the switch out on Drapion, it could have turned it into a 1-0, but it probably was the strongest stab move he had, so either way, I'm not sure what you can do there.
Yeah, in fact, Dragon Tail was the only move we saw from Flygon the entire battle, so it makes me wonder what the other moves were that were just not nearly as good. But if Dragon Tail was the priority move, of course it makes sense, but maybe a different build could have been possible.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know. It was definitely a very good match, very close. I definitely think that both prepped pretty well for this one. Again, we're all learning here. I think that for the most part, these were somewhat standard sets. Maybe we'll see some more interesting things as the weeks go on, and people maybe learn a little more about how best to prep for each other.
Yeah, especially like whole new system, whole new sets of Pokemon that just never are together in competitive play, really, unless you're trying to play Randbats, and even that chance is so slim. It's really interesting to see, to watch like how people are trying to tailor their parties for a particular week. Because as you were saying earlier, one Pokemon that would be a fantastic pick for one week might be absolutely awful for the next week.
Absolutely.
All right, so thanks for being on, Kit. And thank you to the viewer for watching this commentary. We're trying this for the first time to see what works and what doesn't. So let us know what you thought about this battle or commentary and your hopes for the next week in the Cuber Battle Association. And until next time, happy battling.
Peace.